It's not some science fantasy effect from 2001. This electronic display, emanating from Australia's largest computer, is a picture of the condition, past, present and future of planet Earth. The program was originally devised by a scientist working from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, J. Forrester. It was developed under the auspices of the Club of Rome by an MIT research team to present a complex model of the world and what we humans are doing to it. The program, called World 1, doesn't pretend to be a precise forecast. What it does for the first time in man's history on the planet is to look at the world as one system. It shows that Earth cannot sustain present population and industrial growth for much more than a few decades. It shows that simply cleaning up our car exhausts and making some small effort to limit our families simply isn't enough. It's like an electronic guided tour of our global behaviour since 1900 and where that behaviour will lead us. Well, this is the printed version of what we've just seen on the television screen. And what looks at first to be just a maze of computer characteristics is really a system of very simple graphs which project what's going to happen to the planet over the next 150 years if we don't do something drastic to stop it. Down the left-hand side of the graph is the date, 1900, 1940, 1980, 2020, right down to 2060. Now, each of these lines of letters represents a curve showing some aspect of the condition of the planet. The further out this way they go, the greater that figure is, the further this way, the less. For example, P represents population. So here it is at 1900, and then it comes up to 1940, it starts to take off. Here we are at 1980, up to the turn of the century, and then it starts to peter off. Let's now have a look at this next curve, the Q curve, which is the quality of life. And this is represented by, for example, the amount of space people have, the amount of money they have to spend, the amount of food they have to eat. Now, it increases rapidly up to 1940, but from 1940 on, the quality of life diminishes. And here we are about the turn of the century, and we come up to the year 2020, and it's really come right back. More people, of course, means that you start to chew up your supply of natural resources. And this is this curve here, the N curve. And it shows that slowly but steadily, the pool of natural wealth in the world, natural resources, minerals, oil, and so on, is slowly but steadily diminishing. So this is the situation. As population increases, the quality of life decreases, and the supply of natural resources decreases. But have a look at this curve here. This is called the Z curve, and it represents pollution. Now, predictably enough, as the population increases up to 1980, pollution increases. There's more rubbish. But from 1980 to the year 2020, pollution really takes off. This is assuming, of course, that we don't do anything about it. So the year 2020, the condition of the planet starts to become highly critical. And if we don't do anything about it, this is what's going to happen. The quality of life is going to go right back to practically zero. Pollution is going to become so serious, right out here, that it will start to kill people. So the population will diminish. Right back here, less than it was in the year 1900. And at this stage, around about the year 2040, 2050, civilized life as we know it on this planet will cease to exist. Well, hopefully, of course, it won't be allowed to happen. But it's taken this kind of shock treatment to nudge governments into doing something, and slowly we are. We're starting to clean up our atmosphere. We're starting to recycle our rubbish. We're doing something positive about population control. But so far, our efforts have really been just a drop in the ocean.
what you have seen here today, apes on the 5 continents will be imitating tomorrow.
With knives against guns, with kerosene cans against flamethrowers.
Where there is fire, there is smoke. And in that smoke, from this day forward, my people will crouch and conspire and plot and plan for the inevitable day of man's downfall, the day when he finally and self-destructively turns his weapons against his own kind, the day of the writing in the sky, when your cities lie buried under radioactive rubble, when the sea is a dead sea and the land is a wasteland, out of which I will lead my people from their captivity, and we shall build our own cities in which there will be no place for humans except to serve our ends. And we shall found our own armies, our own religion, our own dynasty, and that day is upon you now!
I'd like to share a revelation that I've had during my time here. It came to me when I tried to classify your species. I realized that you're not actually mammals. Every mammal on this planet instinctively develops a natural equilibrium with the surrounding environment, but you humans do not. You move to an area and you multiply and multiply until every natural resource is consumed. And the only way you can survive is to spread to another area. There is another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern. Do you know what it is? A virus. Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague, and we are the cure. Can you hear me, Morpheus? I'm going to be honest with you. I hate this place. This zoo, this prison, this reality, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand it any longer. It's the smell, if there is such a thing. I feel saturated by it. I can taste your stink. And every time I do, I fear that I've somehow been infected by it. It's repulsive, isn't it? I must get out of here. I must get free. And in this mind is the key.
What the ocean was like a couple 100,000 years ago, before people really became what we are, tool using, people that figured out how to get out into the ocean and capture fish. Imagine if you could see it. Imagine if you could see an image of how many fucking fish were out there 200,000 years ago versus how many are now. Yeah. It's like they live next to a vampire that just keeps sucking the life out of it. I bet we've killed 50% of all life in the ocean.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like we have to think of ourselves at some point. You got to say, maybe the best thing human beings could do for the earth is to end humanity.
Maybe, but maybe viruses are there for a reason too. Maybe it all needs to exist. There needs to be some sort of a balance. We're always trying to eliminate bad things. Yeah. Maybe they do serve some sort of weird fucking purpose.
So even in that, we find purpose as humans. That's the talent of humans, the ability to adjust and make logic out of us being here.
Yeah, well, and to keep moving and make more of us.
There are two types of viruses, a good one and a bad one. A good virus will sicken its host, but not kill it, so the virus can be passed to other hosts. So basically it survives by controlling itself. A bad virus, however, doesn't control itself, and it will kill its host, ensuring the ultimate end of the virus. Now picture the human race as a virus and Mother Earth as its host. Are we a good or a bad virus? Did we ever live in harmony with Mother Nature? And do we have the capacity to evolve into something better? Out of every living organism on Earth, humans identify the closest with the virus. We expand non-stop and we have no stable means of not destroying ourselves without expanding to a new planet. It is not a question of what we do, it's a question of what we are. More than 8 billion and growing. Even though humans only represent 0.01% of all living things, yet since the dawn of civilization, humans have destroyed more of Mother Nature than any other species in the world. So the question arises, have humans always been like this, or did the prehistoric versions of humanity live in harmony with nature? The old stories about how our ancestors lived together with the wildlife and nature sounds pretty romantic, but it's completely wrong. If they could have disrupted and destroyed more things, then they would have done so. History is rich with examples of destroying nature using just primitive methods. Even the indigenous populations like the Amazon Indians, whom we believe to have a closer relationship to nature than the average human being, decimated great parts of nature in order to grow their way of life. So it's safe to say that we have always grown at the expense of nature. But we also pay now so much more attention to our planet's well-being than we've ever did before. However, what often happens is that the host, in this case planet Earth, produces antibodies to the invading virus. You could think of plagues, cancers and other various ways that humans have somewhat been checked by Mother Earth. But then again, humans have found innovative ways to defend themselves against these type of threats. Nowadays, with the availability of better healthcare, food and hygiene, the number of hazards we experience in our life has dramatically reduced. In scientific terms, these hazards are referred to as selection pressures. They put pressure on us to adapt in order to survive the environment we are in and reproduce, and science shows that we are still evolving to this day. Even though we categorize ourselves as Homo sapiens, we are very different compared to members of these original species who lived 10,000 years ago, and we will very likely be different from the humans of the future. Besides the biological developments, the human species has also made tremendous steps in their psychological development. Humans travel in machines, search for life beyond our planet, and are able to cure diseases. All of these accomplishments depended on the growth of thousands of years of incremental progress and a society that allowed individuals to explore and share knowledge. Unfortunately, we don't have thousands of years of trial and error to learn how to deal with the current issues we're facing. Thankfully, in today's world we have computers that can cut our learning curve. Machine learning can predict outcomes and prescribe solutions. But just like humans are prone to all sorts of biases, algorithms have their own challenges. And to be honest, how predictable is the world? We did not predict the dot-com boom or the recent economic recession, so it isn't a magic solution to our problems. I believe that the future of the human race finds itself at a crossroads. On the one hand, you have the unbelievable technological progress in the past century, but on the other hand, Mother Nature has never been in a more terrible shape than it is right now. But according to the UN, it's not too late to save the planet. The window is just closing fast. This doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice our way of living. It just means we have to find win-wins instead of win-lose situations. In the face of extreme adversity, humans have always shown their resilience by coming up with innovative solutions to deal with them. This is why I believe that humans are a harmonious species with virus type of traits that will take the upper hand when we aren't checked by anything and have a free pass to do whatever we like.